So far, I've only ever talked about rock and metal music artists and different variations of them on this series so far. I haven't really talked about any other genre yet. So today, we're going to talk about our first pop music artist on this series. So, yeah. So anyways, the pop music artist that we're talking about today is Lady Gaga. Yes. Now, to begin with, in my journey of my broadening music taste, broadening my music taste, listening to different variety of genres other than what I did before, I only started with rock and metal and different variations of it to begin with, but I did do some other genres as well, like rap and a little bit of pop music here and there, like Britney Spears and NSYNC and Backstreet Boys and, basically the 90s, 2000s pop music, Yeah. But eventually, come 2000s, after I don't know, 2000, probably 5 or 6 or whatever, I don't know exactly, but around somewhere in the early 2000s or I don't know if it's mid 2000s, I don't know what you consider, but around there, Lady Gaga came out and started getting, popular and stuff. And first I listened to, I think it was Poker Face or Just Dance. One of those. I don't know which one it was exactly, which song I listened to first of hers. But once I listened to those two songs, I immediately fell in love. I immediately loved them, They were great. And I wanted to listen to more, honestly. So I patiently waited for, more of her stuff to come out. And, of course, more of her stuff came out. Bad Romance, Alejandro, Judas, and Paparazzi, and eventually Born This Way, and many, 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 many more. Yeah. And I loved them all, pretty much. They were all great. And I loved listening to them. And honestly, listening to Lady Gaga always made me feel a certain kind of way, There was always something special about it, listening to her. Because she was always weird, different, unique as an artist. She always felt like the outcast of the pop music world, at least around that time period she did. She was different than the rest of the pop music that came before her. And I really loved that, and I really resonated with that. Because I was a weird kid myself. I was considered a weirdo myself. I was different. I was, unique. An outcast. Didn't really fit in very much anywhere. Didn't really feel like I belonged anywhere. And I guess because of that, I resonated with that sort of thing, And while listening to her, it always kind of made me feel like it's okay, It's okay that I don't fit in everywhere. It's okay that I'm weird. It's okay that I'm different. Listening to her music made me feel that way. Because a lot of times that's what her message was, you know, be yourself, be different. Don't be afraid to be weird. Always be yourself, always try to be your true self. Never, don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of being yourself. Don't be ashamed of it. And just be yourself and don't really care about, what other people think or say, And that's how I always felt listening to her music. It just made me feel like, it was okay that I was weird. I didn't have to keep trying to fit in and be normal, I could be weird. And it's fine, it's great, even. There's nothing wrong with being weird or different. And that's how I always felt listening to her music. It always made me feel like that. And that's why I always loved listening to music, and it's always why her music was always so special to me. It made me feel like it was okay to be weird, to be different. And it was just, I don't know, it was a great feeling. It was amazing. And that's why she's such a special artist to me. And that's why I love her so much. I never really considered myself a monster or a little monster or whatever she calls her fans. I never really considered myself one of those, really. Like, I never labeled myself one of those, but I'm definitely a big fan of hers. Definitely a big fan. But, yeah. Her music was just, it just really spoke to me, And I think I'm not alone in this. I know it definitely resonated with a lot of other, people like that. People who always felt like the weirdo, always felt like the outcast, never really fitting in anywhere. Feeling like they don't belong. People that were different. It really always resonated. A lot of her music resonated with those kinds of people. And that's why it resonated with me, because, yeah, I was different. Still am. But yeah. She was such a special artist to me, and she still is, to this day. I still love listening to her music, nowadays. Like, she just released that Mayhem album not that long ago. And I really fell in love with two of the songs from it. Disease and Abracadabra. And it got to a point where probably those two songs are probably going to be my top two most listened to songs of this year. Yeah, so yeah, I'm a pretty big fan of her. She's pretty special to me. She's a great artist who makes great music. All different kinds of music. Not a lot of her music sounds the same. And I always love that too. A lot of it sounds different than each other. It's never exactly the same. And I always love that. And honestly, Lady Gaga herself is a really great person as well. She's, really LGBTQ plus supportive. She's she's just an overall great person to a lot of people. She's nice, she's kind to people. She's not one of those people that just, makes music just for money and that sort of thing. She makes music because it's, her passion, and she makes music for people, She makes music for the weirdos, the people that are different. You know, she cares about her fans, and she loves them dearly. You know, and she's just an overall great artist and great person, and yeah, and I love listening to her music. Now I gotta be honest though. I gotta be kind of honest and fair. There is one song of hers that honestly I still can't stand to this day, and I previously made a video about it. Yeah, talking about it. So yeah, there is that. But other than that, she's a great artist. She's a great person. She makes great music that really resonates with a lot of us weirdos. And yeah, and I love her.